I love being in the studio, experimenting, finding new sounds, and being able to do that is really special to me. I like to make heartfelt or soulful electronic music. I love finding rhythms and beats that are very energetic and make people move, but I also want to move people emotionally. What's up? My name is Dot. I am an artist and producer and engineer living in Los Angeles, and I run a production company and record label called Unspeakable Records. I have a little bit of a background in classical and jazz, and so I like to draw from that education and understanding of harmony and theory and bring some of that into more forward-thinking, like sound design techniques. I started making music with this collective called Team Supreme. Some of our members were Mr. Carmack, Jemba, Penthouse. We did these weekly beat ciphers where one person would choose a sample and a BPM, and then everyone would have a half an hour or an hour to make a beat using the same sample and rules. It was a really, really special part of my musical journey. I learned so much working with those guys. When I'm sitting down to start working on something, I like to get a few different sounds dialed in or pulled up and just kind of in the session, ready to go before I then start writing. So we're here in my studio going to sketch out a new beat idea using plugins from Native Instruments KOMPLETE NOW. I want to start with battery. It's always nice to get a rhythmic idea going before we get too deep into sound design, so that way we can craft those sounds sort of more in context. I already have this cage kit loaded up. I love these sounds. For the snare, I want to go to effects and maybe turn on some lo-fi and some saturation, take it down a little bit. Kick is already sounding great, so we'll leave that as it is. So once I get kind of the backbone of my beat samples chosen, I want to obviously choose a BPM. Maybe go a little bit faster. We'll say 128. I like sequencing in my first few passes or ideas just on the keyboard, so that way it has a little bit of a human feel and we're not just going straight to perfectly quantized beats. I want to add some sort of a hi-hat or pickup to the snare. Might just sprinkle in a few of these. And with this, I like to use my arrow keys to shuffle things around till I find something that feels good. So here's what we're gonna do. This is sometimes a fun way to generate some new hi-hat or shaker patterns. So I just want that one note. And I'm actually gonna bring this over to our timeline. Just do a quick freeze, new audio track, and then option drag it down. Let's just grab a long tape reverb and we'll increase time here. We can even create a syncopated rhythm here. So I'm going to add another sound. I want to grab massive. I'm going to go through here and filter by bass. I'm actually kind of loving this sound. I like all the textures. Sometimes I will play around a little bit with the sound that I want to use before I choose a key, because different patches sound better in different registers. It depends on what you're working with. For this, I like E flat. Let's go for it. All right, just go through and tailor that a bit. Give ourselves a little more space. Maybe pull down a little bit on this filter, just so it's not so dominant in the high end and we have more space for our melody or chord progression later on. I want to duplicate this whole track. I'm going to mute our bass line. And so now we have this duplicate here that I'm just going to work on a bit. And for starters, let me just go ahead and bump this up an octave. Maybe we'll play a little bit with some of these envelopes. And I think for this, it might sound nice to throw on a bit of reverb. So I'm gonna put RAUM. I really love a lot of the presets that are under the Creative bank. Nice. So I like this one called Ghostly Resonance. Now that we have the second sound in place, I want to come up with maybe a different melody that can riff off of what the bass and the drums are doing. I'm just gonna throw gate on this lead and sidechain it too. We have a few options now, but we'll start maybe with our kick snare, see where that gets us. Let's throw in some chords, and then once we get a little progression going, we will start arranging this out into a longer track. So we're gonna grab Massive X again and synth pads. Ooh, love that. So we're gonna load up the Vintage Pro preset. It's really simple 3-5-1 progression. From here, I might grab a couple of the lower notes and just bump them up an octave. I love how dreamy those chords sound kind of on their own. I might use that as a bit of an intro and maybe save our bass for later on in the arrangement. So I'm just going to duplicate things out and then kind of arrange by deleting. So we'll take out some drums for a while. We'll take out this bass line. I want to make sure all our tracks are enabled. So I'm liking that overall timing. I think there's a few more things we can do to create some more drama and contrast around where the bass comes in. First, by adding maybe some sort of riser effect or sweeping sound. I'm going to create a new MIDI track. I want to load up Complete Control. Let's reach for Lo-Fi Glow. See what we can get in here. I'm going to filter this to sound effects. I really like this. It's just called noise sound effects. And I like writing session. So I'm going to layer both of these and kind of create our own riser. So we'll load up writing session first, name of the preset. So I'm going to start this. I'll just duplicate this track really quickly because I know I want to use another sound from that same bank. Load up that noise. We've already got a note in place. So now that we've got these two, group them together. And we're going to go back to RAUM. We're going to put this before our auto filter. And in here, I'm going to go for our large category. Just kind of scroll around till we find something interesting. I like space place. That's fun. Let's hear what that sounds like in context. Nice. So we're just going to throw a filter on our kick snare pattern. Gonna actually cut the highs when that bass first enters. And now that we have a little bit more space in the arrangement to work with, I want to go through and maybe add in a few more sounds. Let's reach for cloud supply. I like this one called Helium. Let's see what we can create with that. From here, I might actually turn down a little bit of the delay and reverb. I'm just gonna let the track play out. At this point, there's a lot of room for creativity as far as how I want to cut this up. Just going by ear, seeing what happens. You can even grab smaller pieces and copy paste, maybe throw one in reverse. When I just cut away and only leave in smaller specific moments, it's kind of giving you this small window into this bigger world of sound, but without the mix weight of including the entire line. So I like that phrase. I might just actually delete everything, grab this little bit, and kind of use that as our main gesture for this track. Now let's revisit our drum part. I think it would be really fun to hear some sort of arpeggiated synth. So we're gonna go ahead and duplicate this bass, move this over, and I'm gonna go through and choose a different patch to start with. We're gonna grab something from Hybrid Keys. This hybrid mini patch could sound pretty cool, so let's give this a shot. I'm gonna grab my chords from our previous pad sound and just paste them over. Extend them out really quick so we have more running time to work with on the arpeggiator. And I'm gonna leave the edges kind of rough as they are, because as we mess with some of the parameters on the arpeggiator later on, we can get some interesting patterns. So let's see what that sounds like with our bass line. Just keep that going. Nice. So I like those kind of additional melodies that end up forming in those upper registers when we increase our octave range here for the arpeggiator. I'm going to automate this filter cutoff that's built into Hybrid Keys here and just have it slowly open up over the course of this phrase. Maybe start a little higher. I'm going to take this arpeggiated part that we just created and duplicate this whole track. I'm going to take the arpeggiator off of this new one, and we're just going to layer in another sound. Let's grab something from Cloud Supply. Try Bah Humbug. That's nice. I'm going to turn down our filter cutoff a smidge, just because I want the arpeggiator to kind of occupy more of the high frequency range. We don't want those two parts to clash. We're treating them sort of as layers of the same sound. So because of that, I'm also going to group these together. And I want to have this slowly filter in, similar to a lot of our other sounds in this session. There's one last thing I want to do to this sound, just so it has an even closer relationship to the rhythm of this track, to the drums and the bass. I want to use sidechain gate. So we'll go to our dynamics, grab gate, throw it on that part, and we're going to sidechain it to the kick snare pattern again. We can just let this keep riding out. I just love the never-ending journey of searching for textures and sounds that have maybe never been heard before in some way. We're trying to constantly push that forward as a sound designer. I will never get bored with that. It's why I keep coming back every day to just make more music.